Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. I was recently interacting with my sister-in-law, and I was sharing with her that I tried to train myself to run farther without any rest or refreshment. This morning was 12.5 miles, no rest, no refreshments. And she was confused by this, perhaps even standoffish on what I'm doing is unhealthy. And as this dialogue was happening, I was reflecting to myself, what I'm trying to do and what is taught in self-development manuals is tapa. Tapa means to burn down comfort zones. It's easier to rest. It's easier to eat, drink, etc. And what does tapa nurture? Titiksha. Titiksha helps one to endure more, respect more. And what does titiksha nurture? Tripta. One becomes satisfied, quiet. One does not succumb to likes and dislikes, to overthinking. Meaningful Mornings is a practice in tapa. It is easier to not be part of Meaningful Mornings. What do you have to do to not be part of Meaningful Mornings? Nothing. What do you have to do to be part of Meaningful Mornings? You have to wake up earlier. You have to pretend to listen to me. Your cameras have to be on and so on. Throughout our Chinmay Mission centers in North America and communities in North America, I facilitate different training modules. Yesterday in Cleveland, we had a wonderful training module on thinking on big thinking. Thinking on big thinking. We all use this phrase, big thinking, but how do you actually think about that so that you can follow that? That same notion is being facilitated by the verses we're in right now in the Bhagavad Gita's chapter 9. Shri Krishna's encouraging us to engage in big thinking, that we may experience this and that, but bigger than that, beyond that, is Him. He is divinity. The nature of divinity is existence awareness. You can't deny existence awareness. You have to exist to deny existence. You have to be aware to deny awareness. But we never feel that because we're busy. So we too are engaged in thinking on big thinking. In a recent verse, Sri Krishna shares that He is causeless. This is verse 17. And in doing so, if we think of this logically, the cause pervades the effect. Do you all agree? The cause pervades the effect. In which case then, there's actually no effect. If the cause pervades the effect, that means there's no effect, which then logically means there's no cause either. So this teaching that Sri Krishna is causeless, you don't need to have faith in that. That is rational thinking. In the same verse, Sri Krishna shares, infinity, divinity, your existence, your awareness, this is to be known in one's life. Vedyam. But this is only possible when one is pavitram, which means one is pure. And this is not an abstract word. A gauge of purity is how balanced your mind is, how focused your mind is, and most importantly, how reflective your mind is. In our Vedanta and Bhagavata class yesterday, I described this as being lightheaded. That all that you experience, you reflect on that, and how that helps you get to know who you are. If one wants to know who they are, undoubtedly one has to be pure, but then one needs direction, and that comes through the sound symbol Om, the Vedas. In our culture, we have one Veda. This is volumized into 4, and these volumes teach in a different way. Same subject, taught in a different way because there's different personalities. And Sri Krishna is identifying all of this diversity, trying to remind us that deeper than this diversity is unity. Sharing some more structure to these verses, as these types of verses continue, Puja Swami Tejomayananda shared with us, when you can identify with the tattva. Tattva means the fundamental. That identification should be one of oneness, that this is your swarupa. That deeper than your name and your form is this fundamental. If this is too subtle and one can identify with the karana, karana here means the creator. Maybe I can't relate to this notion of infinity, but I feel creation, so there has to be a creator. Then that identification should feel like you are a dasa. You are a servant to creation. When the fundamental expresses as the functional, serve the functional. One more time, in verse 16, Sri Krishna takes a photograph of a ritual and shares that all of this is functional, I am the fundamental. In verse 17, he takes a photograph of our relationships and shares this is all functional, I am the fundamental. Now in verse 18, he goes big from a ritual to a family to now beyond all of that. This is a highly reflective verse that requires contemplation. Every word, I believe there's 13 in this verse, needs to be contemplated on. Let's start. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam suhrit prabhava pralayastanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. Shri Krishna shares, he is the Gatihi and Bharta. These words go together. Gatihi means goal or ends. Bharta, all of our Hindi speakers, what does Bharta mean? Bangin. Bharta means that which nourishes, that which helps us along the means to the ends. So he is the means, He is the ends. Next set, Prabhuhu and Sakshi. These words are connected. Prabhuhu means he is the master. And what does the master do with what he's mastering? Sakshi. He watches. He observes. He is above what he is mastering. Next three words, and this is a set that I will zoom into. Nivasaha means to live in. Vasa, I live in this home. Nivasa, that living is not in an external entity, but rather living in oneself. Sharanam, the one who is a abode of solace, a refuge. And he helps us by being our suhrit, which means being our best friend. These are all connected in the sense that Shri Krishna lives inside of us. He is us. We have to surrender our extroversion. And Shri Krishna is helping us by being that friend that's guiding us to ourselves. Pujya Swami Tejamananda shared an amazing revelation about this. Everything he shares is amazing. All of the other shelters that we know of in the world, even those shelters need shelter. And this verse came to me, and last week I was listening to a sad podcast about how children, let's say those who are 17 and younger, those who identify as queer, they're trying to understand their sexuality. Sometimes their parents, they can't understand them. And because they can't understand them, what do? They put them in a foster home. A significant number of foster children are queer. And what happens in some foster homes? Those foster parents also can't understand those children, but they can't eject them from there. So abuse takes place. Emotional abuse, physical abuse. You see how parents are supposed to be a shelter, but quite often they're not. Foster homes are supposed to be a shelter, but quite often they're not. The final shelter is our original parent, not our biological parents, not allo-parenting. It is only our original parent. Vivek is saying this as a parent of two young children. I am not the shelter of my children, the final shelter. The next three words are connected. This is 8, 9, and 10. Prabhavaha, pralayaha, stanam. He is the one who originates. Pralayaha, the one who absorbs. And stanam, the one who is the foundation. And this essentially means that all that we experience emerges from him, exists in him, and ends in him. And this is the exact same teaching that we studied in the previous verse, that the cause pervades the effect, which means there's no effect, which means there's no cause, which means there's only divinity. What do we have to do to be divine? Nothing. Just be. And finally, the last three words, 11, 12, and 13, are connected. Nidhanam, he is the treasure house, the storehouse of what? Bijam. Bijam here is singular seed. What kind of seed? Avyayam. the one that is proliferated yet unchanged. Offering some reflections on this. Imagine Nidhanam is a potential, just an immaterial potential, like your willpower. It's immaterial, but there's a potential that's there, correct? Then this manifests as a seed. And this seed then blossoms and more seeds come. And from those seeds, more seeds, and from those seeds, more seeds. But there is always that original seed, correct? Isn't that so cool how oneness becomes infinity, but those are synonymous? Today when I was running on our track, and I was seeing those oak trees, so many lovely oak trees and so many seeds around there, but all of those seeds came from one seed. What is that seed? Shri Krishna. You can go to your garden store and ask, can I have a pack of Shri Krishna seeds? And if the gardener is awesome, he'll say, you are that seed. How to make this more practical? One will practice this verse when one is deeper. If you're honest with yourself and you're a shallow personality, this verse is useless to you. There's no utility. But if you're a deep personality, then what will happen? You will naturally slow down in your lifestyle so that you can take a step back from all that you're doing and see that there's more to you, to what you're doing. Those who are deep, they slow down, step back, see more. Those who want to be deep, slow down, step back, see more. From inspiration to application, your application was to read the article on the effective altruism movement, and to be moved by this and to be an EA, one who's following effective altruism. As I reflected on this more, to me, effective altruism is right thinking or high thinking. Those who are practicing right thinking, high thinking, that means you naturally are engaged in simple living. Swami Tejomayananda always shares that, correct? Simple living, high thinking. But it starts with the high thinking. Your application for this morning, and it will be the same application tomorrow and on Wednesday. Wednesday, September 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, our community is going to organize our first ever open home. This will be a place when every student in Chinmayan Mission Cleveland Niagara's courses, everyone in Meaningful Mornings, everyone who has any association with us will gather to celebrate our courses, our communities, our collaborations. The Zoom account that we pay for can host 1,000 seekers, 1,000 cameras. And I was sharing that it would be amazing to see us get to that number. We have that potential. So join, invite family, friend, coworker, and spread what you get to experience. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.